If a kid comes to you and says, hey, I'm thinking about dipping my toe into the performance-enhancing drug world because others are. I need to do it to stay with my peers, otherwise my dream is gonna die, which is kind of where you were.
Yeah.
What do you tell them?
It's every situation. There's not an easy answer. Every situation is different. I don't ever want a kid to come up to me and ask me that.
Has anyone?
No. Thank God. I don't think I'm the right person to ask. I mean, I would obviously advise them. I would ask some questions. I haven't been in that position, but sure. My advice has to be, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't want to be in that position, and I don't want to be in that position with my kids. You know, I got a boy who plays D1 ball.
Right.
I don't think Luke Armstrong would ever even think that that's an option. But as I watch sport, I don't think about it. I watch the Super Bowl, they're big, fast, strong, and tough. I'm sure some of them got there with some help, but I don't think about that.
Some of them who started in the game were suspended for PEDs.
Right, so, but I just watch the game.
That doesn't bother you?
I just watch the game.
Well, that means it bothers you a little bit.
No, I just watch it. But if Luke came to me, it would bother me. Then all of a sudden, I start to really care. And the answer would obviously be, Luke, stay in school, be a great teammate, graduate from what is essentially an Ivy League school, meet as many people as you can, make as many connections as you can, and go on and be great. You don't need this game. No way.
At 25, Lance Armstrong was a patient.
I have the utmost faith in all of my doctors with whom I'm working, and I am determined to fight this disease, and I will win.
Stage 3 testicular cancer, tumors in his lungs, lesions on his brain.
Armstrong is flying away.
3 years later, he went from survivor to victor in what was called at the time one of the most unbelievable comebacks in sports history.
Armstrong wins the Tour de France.
For 7 straight years, he dominated arguably the hardest sporting event in the world.
History in the making, 7 times a winner of the Tour de France.
Around him grew an empire that included a powerful foundation dedicated to fighting cancer.
It's one of the great human stories.
We believe in life, your life.
But after years of lies and scorched earth denials,
he has nothing. He's got no proof. It's his word versus ours.
Armstrong was exposed as a doper in 2012.
Lance Armstrong has no place in cycling.
His brand imploded. His legacy as a cancer survivor and activist polluted.
It's been an interesting couple of weeks.
His story became one of the most infamous in sports.
In 1999, you won the Tour de France for the first time.
Yeah.
Now it's 20 years.
20 years. That's a long time.
What did that mean, considering you had just gone from cancer to champion in a short period of time?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest thing is it was a surprise. I mean, I think it surprised a lot of people, but it surprised me too. It surprised our team. It surprised my family. You know, that I finished treatment December of 96, so I had 97, 98, and then boom, 99. I mean, it was a short amount of time. It didn't seem short at the time, but as I look back, I was like, it was an instant.
Having fought his way free from cancer, Armstrong's appetite for battle turned on his rivals and some members of the press.
You're not going to find anything.
From the beginning, his strength at the Tour was questioned.
It's unfortunate that the yellow jersey of the Tour de France always has to defend drugs. Extraordinary accusations must be followed up with extraordinary proof. You said that I am the cancer, and the cancer is out of remission. You are not worth the chair that you're sitting on with a statement like that.
I couldn't just lay down. There was no difference between attacking in the mountains or attacking at the press conference. It was the same mentality. I couldn't turn it off. And so, huge mistake. I mean, we'd all love to go back in life and have a few do-overs.
Yep.
Never should have taken it on, especially knowing that most of what they said was true.
Did you just believe your own lies? Do you believe your own defense that you built up around you and just got lost in that cocoon a little bit?
I didn't. No, I didn't believe it. I mean, I knew the reality. I knew the truth. But it's tough to stop once you start. I mean, you don't just all of a sudden one day go, Tarico, you're a good guy. I think I'm just going to be honest with you. I've lied to everybody else, but it's 2004, and I'll just be honest.
Did you get close to flipping that switch at any point?
No.
20 years ago, you won your first.
Yep.
7 years ago, you were stripped of all 7.
Yep.
Which one of those events defines who you are right now?
I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't change the way I acted. I mean, I would, but this is a longer answer. But primarily, I wouldn't change the lessons that I've learned. I mean, I don't learn all the lessons if I don't act that way. And I don't get investigated and sanctioned if I don't act the way I acted. If I just doped and didn't say a thing, none of that would have happened. None of it. I mean, I was begging for it. I was asking for that. I was asking for them to come after me. And it was an easy target.
But you didn't figure that out until recently.
Correct. I didn't figure that out until it happened. So it's taken years and years and years of introspective and work and therapy and just understanding what it meant. I mean, you're asking me about what I think the 99 tour meant to cancer survivors or to the cancer community.
Right.
You know, 5 years ago, my answer was, what the hell's the problem? Just get over it. Look at all the good I did. But as I sit here today, and it's a process, you can't just get over it. Is a big story.
Growing up in Plano, Texas, Armstrong first cut his competitive teeth in triathlon. A national champion in the sport at 18, he got into endurance sports for one simple reason.
At some point, I just woke up and said, I suck at every ball sport known to man. So football, baseball, basketball. I can't play those.
What, we're talking 10, 11, 12?
We were talking 12.
12 years old?
12 years old. And my mom said, okay, you don't have to do that, but you have to do something.
What was it about cycling that got to you?
The feeling of freedom and just time to be alone, to be outside, to be away. You know, when you're 13, everybody wants to be away, right? You want to be away from your mom, your dad, your whoever. And so I was out. Most kids just rip down the corner and, you know, mom can't see them and they're free.
Right, exactly.
I was, you know, taking 50-mile rides and doing, I was truly free.
The bike brought Armstrong to compete internationally as a rare American in a mostly European sport, one with a long history of pervasive drug use.
Do you remember the first time that you did a performance-enhancing drug of any type?
Well, it's just, I mean, yes. I mean, I think I do. There are things, you know, sort of gateway drugs that maybe they weren't banned, certainly weren't detectable or tested for.
But they were something.
The easiest way to think about it, if you know or you think it's going to help you, even if it's not detectable or banned, then you've crossed the line.
So when are we when you had to make that decision? What are we, 93?
We are it's probably 91 maybe. Italian stage race. And again, it's hard to differentiate because I believe that we weren't given anything banned, but it was funny, the doctor walked in and I was in the lead of the race and I wanted to win the race. And he walked in and I said, give me everything in the bag. And he just laughed. But, you know, it's probably some form of cortisone or...
and that's the first time?
Yeah. But the first time you take, you know, a legitimate banned substance, 93.
You were surrounded by it. Was there the feeling that if we didn't, then we couldn't compete?
Yeah, well, that wasn't just a feeling, that was a fact. And I don't want to make excuses for myself that everybody did it or we never could have won without it. Those are all true, but the buck stops with me. I'm the one who made the decision to do what I did. And it was... I didn't want to go home, man. I was going to stay.
Why didn't you want to go home?
I mean, I went... well, I told you earlier, I don't lay down. And it was the wrong decision, but laying down would have been giving up, going home.
Right.
I went to... I knew there were going to be knives at this fight, not just fists. I knew there'd be knives. I had knives. And then one day, people started showing up with guns. And that's when you say, do I either fly back to Plano, Texas, and not know what you're going to do, or do you walk over to the gun store? And I walked to the gun store. So I didn't want to go home.
Do you wish you never did it? Never started down this road and would have said, let me go home and go figure out a way to make a life somewhere back in Plano, Texas?
It's a tough question. And it's an answer that people don't like. Because I wouldn't change a thing, because I'm sitting here today. So I wouldn't change that. It was a mistake. It led to a lot of other mistakes. Mm-hmm. It led to the most colossal meltdown in the history of sports. Think about that. What I wish would have happened, I wish we would have, kids from Plano and Glenwood Springs, Colorado, and Brooklyn and Montana, as young Americans, if we'd have gone to Europe and everybody's fighting with their fists, we still win. I promise you that.
Armstrong bringing his team home to the line. New best time. That is absolutely unbelievable.
You led a lot of that group down that road.
That's not true. No.
Who led it?
No, who led it, you know? And there are a few things that are just not true about the story. I mean, there's a lot true, but this idea that myself or anybody forced or mandated or encouraged anybody else to cross that line just isn't true.
Not true.
It's not true. Absolutely not true.
That goes counter to what a lot of people have said.
I understand.
So how do you reconcile that it's always coming back to you, and you don't say, well, what about the other guys?
I can't fight that fight. You know, I mean, the reality is every man made their own decision.
At some point along the way, you institutionalized justifying when it all cost.
Yeah, I mean, we did what we had to do to win, and it wasn't legal. It was not, probably wasn't the best decision. We wouldn't have won had we not. Look.
And you wouldn't have gone through all this?
No, of course not. But I wouldn't change a thing. I've said that 3 times, and I'll say it again. I would not change a thing.
So what memory do you have when you see one of your yellow jerseys framed?
Oh.
Good or bad?
Oh, great. Great memories, especially away from the races. Most of my memories were my fondest memories. Yeah, I could pick a few race highlights, but boy, I mean, I can tell you about the 8-hour day in the Pyrenees, previewing Haute-Combe in the pouring rain. The best.
It still makes you feel good?
Oh, yeah.
Even though what was the underlying reality of it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, what did we say? We said we work the hardest, we have the best tactics, we have the best team composition, we have the best director, best equipment, best technology, do more research, recon the courses, all the things we said, we did. We left out a part, but we did all that stuff. Because now this one part is part of the story, it doesn't erase all that. All that happened. If you just had this one thing and did none of that, you get last.
The long battle over doping allegations aimed at Lance Armstrong came to a bitter end today.
UCI will ban Lance Armstrong from cycling, and UCI will strip him of his 7 Tour de France titles.
In all 7 Tour de France victories, did you ever take banned substances or blood dope?
Yes.
So 2019, we're sitting here talking. It's not exactly the same thing like the Oprah interview in 2013. Have you ever gone back and watched that interview?
No. Well, I say no. I've never watched it in its entirety.
Were you not ready at that point to be honest with yourself?
I've been asked that question a lot. Like, why? Why'd you do it then? Why did you do it with her? Why did you do it at all? Mm-hmm. The reality is I knew that I was going to get sued. And I knew I was going to get sued 6 ways to Sunday. Mm-hmm. I made the decision that was the place to, if you don't want it leaked, which is what would have happened most likely, the news was that would have been too big of a revelation. It would have gotten out. I was like, just do it. Just get it out of the way.
Of the times you've had to go back because of legal cases and see who you were, now that you've got a lot of perspective under your belt, what would you like to tell that Lance Armstrong?
When you're forced to watch it, you just want to do over. And you don't want to watch it. It's so painful and it's embarrassing.
How could it have taken place when I've never taken performance-enhancing drugs? How could that have happened?
That was my point. It's not just simply you don't recall, just...
How many times do I have to say it?
I'm just trying to make sure your testimony is clear.
Well, if it can't be any clearer than I've never taken drugs, then incidents like that could never have happened.
Okay.
How clear is that?
My answer's in the SCA deposition. Smug, arrogant, dishonest. I always think about my kids when I see those answers, man. Oof. It's embarrassing.
Embarrassing in some situations, Armstrong was uniquely inspiring in others.
So just to repeat, this would be a big goal, defeating cancer.
That's right.
Okay. It's now an honor and pleasure to introduce Lance Armstrong.
There was nothing like Livestrong. It was powerful, it was grassroots, it was national, it connected to people, it made a difference in the fight for people, people we all knew.
Right.
And your association with it has ended.
Yep.
Does that leave you frustrated?
Well, it didn't feel good. I mean, Livestrong was a force, and we effected great change. We raised $500 million. We saved millions of people's lives. I don't think it was the right decision. I think...
What could they have done?
There's a lot you could have done. You could have... it's what everybody does. You put somebody in timeout. And the other thing, Mike, and this is a fact, they can never... we can't separate.
No.
We can't. As long as your color is yellow, your name is Livestrong, and your work is cancer,
right,
and you raise money through bike rides, you will never separate. I don't care if you go to Paris, Texas, or Paris, France, and you say, okay, guys, here we're going to play a little game. I'm going to say one word. Tell me what you think. Livestrong. So it breaks my heart.
Do you still get a day-to-day reaction from people for what you did for their hopes if they're diagnosed with cancer?
Yeah.
How does it make you feel?
Yeah, well, it never makes you feel good because you don't want to hear that somebody's dealing with cancer.
Right.
So a large part of you is like, man, that sucks, like that for you and everybody around you. It's a nice feeling when people, the extent of my work in the cancer community is with me and an iPhone. That's it. I don't go to galas, I don't speak at galas, I don't raise money. All I do is wait for the message to come in. Hey, a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend is just diagnosed. Can you shoot him a video? So all I do is grab my phone. It's so easy, Mike. You grab your phone, you hit record. I mean, this isn't sexy TV work. Hey, Joey, heard you've been diagnosed. In 30 seconds. Send it straight to them. And in the video say, hey, I mean, obviously they have my number because I just sent it to you.
Right.
You ever need my help? Let me know. That's all I do.
Does that happen often?
Yeah, it happens too often.
I think I read a story that you went into a bar in Colorado and people were giving you kind of grief.
Yeah, I didn't go in the bar, but I was outside of the bar.
Okay. And then you called the manager and bought everybody in the bar a round of drinks?
Started out with one guy, and he said, hey, Lance. But he said it in a way where I was like, I go, what's up, man?
Yeah.
And he goes, you. And next thing you know, the whole table is like a chant, like a war chant. F you, F you. And so when my world fell apart, I thought that would happen every day. So it was the first time. But I was so mad and so shaken.
Sure.
The old Lance probably would have walked over there and gotten a fight.
Right.
Which would have been a bad idea. But I was like, I can't just take this. I have to do something. And so my only thought was to call the manager and say, hey, here's my credit card. Everything that group of people is having today, drinks, food, whatever, is on me. But you have to tell them it's from me. It still shook me.
Sure.
But I couldn't just lay down. I'm not a guy that lays down. And that guy before was the guy that sat in the press conferences and attacked people's credibility and denied and lied and was adamant and mean-spirited. But I'm still the same person. I've learned a lot. But I'm not going to lay down. on anything, whether it's that situation or whether it's raising my kids or whether it's business. I don't lay down.
Is it easier going forward now with a little piece of honesty as opposed to trying to go forward when you were in the tour and you were just plowing over everything in your way?
100%. 100%. I mean, every time I talk, whether it's to a corporation or to a group of college kids, I tell them all the same thing. I'm like, I'm sitting here right now. I'm going to be brutally honest with you. You may not like some of the stuff that I say, but I promise you I'm not going to lie to you. And if I would have done this talk, if nothing would have happened and I would have done this talk, I would have lied to my teeth to you. And so I'm much happier giving this talk today.
How'd you get there? You got to a place. It's pretty clear.
Yeah. Mike, it was a long process, and I strongly believe in the power of therapy and coaching and just understanding the decisions you make, how they impact, obviously the ones around you most immediately, but impact everybody. And so, man, and there's still work to do. Like to sit here and say, I've just graduated, Mike Tirico's in my living room. Right. No, I'm almost 48 years old. I'll be doing this when I'm 98. And so, like I said, lifelong commitment.
Welcome back to the Forward Podcast. I'm your host, Lance Armstrong. My guest this week, get ready, Charles Barkley.
Do you like being on the other side of the microphone?
Oh, yeah.
After you have sat through many of these and been grilled.
Yeah, I love it. I love doing the work, the research. I get a bunch of help with that as well, but I love going, on the research side, I love, my guys will send me 10 clips. I'll just go down the rabbit hole. I mean, you know the drill.
That's what we do. Yeah, you're one of us now.
I'm just making notes, and then, I love having that hour-long conversation. And
what kind of reaction do you get from people?
What's normally a good reaction, otherwise they wouldn't take an hour out of their day to do it. But I really believe that they would answer my questions differently than other people, because they see a guy across the table, they know he's been nuked.
When I got the DUI, I had my friends, I was in jail for the weekend. I said, I want you guys to be my ears.
But they feel a sense of protection there that I can almost tell this guy anything because he's been through everything. That's right. And that part is cool.
What we're talking about today is the 2019 Tour de France.
I could imagine that there were some people who said, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Do I really want to hear from Lance Armstrong about the tour after this?
Right.
But what reaction have you gotten as it's grown in popularity and it's become a money-making proposition now for you?
Yeah. The funny thing about the tour podcast is that and I hate to use this word, but a lot of haters listen to the show too, because they want to hear me mess something. I don't know. They want to have a little material that they can throw some shade. But which I get. It's still a download.
It's business.
It's still I count that as a download. I promise.
It sells.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah.
Geraint Thomas, total domination in the Tour de France.
Geraint Thomas. I mean, just because of the acceleration in the last kilometer, that was amazing.
Can the tour survive and grow? And can people believe that it's a clean sport in 2019?
I can't answer the second part of your question because I'm too far removed. I mean, the way that this has unfolded, I've been put in a place, which I rightfully deserve, that I just can't answer the question. I don't have access, I don't have intel, and I don't want to guess. I'm not going to guess and give you what my guess is. I'd like to think that they're clean. I love watching it.
You do?
Yeah. Well, I watch it as a fan. I watch it as an analyst. I watch it as a person who can appreciate it. And if it's, I might say it's a little boring sometimes, but it's I still enjoy it.
What's next for you?
Next? Well, what's next is look, oddly enough, this venture fund that I've created with my partners is called Next Ventures, which is, I love that name. So we'll continue to create content and continue to look for great young entrepreneurs and companies and ideas and see if we can go build the next great company of this space, this health and fitness and wellness and nutrition space. We play in a few buckets, but really focused on finding that.
And you think America is ready to take you as that person?
Yes, I think it's changing. And as far as America goes, I mean, if I'm out raising a $75 million venture growth fund, we don't get to the place that we're getting to. I mean, people are giving me their money, right? And so that's, you give people money to invest and you trust them. I don't take that for granted at all. I mean, I can't say enough for how much that humbles me and how much responsibility there is with that.
The role of being a dad, 5 kids, having that constant presence in their life that if something is a fork in the road, they've got somebody who can kind of guide them in a path because of your unique experiences. How important is that to you right now?
Well, it's the most important thing. And I would add to it that it falls on not just me, it falls on my ex-wife, Kristen. It falls on Anna, who I've been with forever, been engaged to for a long time too. It falls on us.
The range is 8 to 19 for your kids.
Yeah, 8 to 19. So the 8 and the 10-year-old are in elementary school. Right. So they didn't live, they were 1 and 2.
Right.
But they'll grow into it. YouTube will be there, the internet will be there. So they will grow into this story. And so those conversations that I had with my older kids, I'll then have again with my younger kids.
So you were driven to this place by win at all costs.
Yeah.
You ever afraid that guy's gonna come back?
Yeah, 100%. That would not be good.
How do you fight that guy from coming back?
Well, I think I took the first step by telling you that I'm afraid he might come back. If I told you no way, then I think that's a problem.
The folks who are watching who just can't get over the way you went after and vilified the people who, at the end of the day, were right.
Yeah.
Those are the ones who have the biggest hurdle to get over in giving Lance a chance again.
Yeah.
What do you say to them?
I understand why that's a problem, and it would be a problem for me. I don't try to promote or advertise what I've tried to rectify those situations, traveling the world, sitting with people. All I can do is do that. All I can do is sit across the table from somebody and just say, I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry. But I think everybody that the public might think about has been apologized to. I don't think, those people are not unimportant, but I don't think they're the most important. I think the most important is the bulk of society that I'll never be able to apologize to across a table or over the phone. There's so many people that want that, but they'll never sit on a plane next to me. They'll never show up at the front door. And so they don't get their, I could apologize. That's not as, I wish you could just walk the world and make it happen, but you can't. But like I said, it's a long walk. And it's not a short commitment, it's a lifelong commitment.